Hi, welcome back to Bandwagon fans. I'm Jeff, and before I get started, I just want to thank all of my returning subscribers. With Infinity War coming out, that's kind of dominated the last couple of weeks. I've got a couple three videos out just for Avengers Infinity War, so hope you all were able to enjoy those. Now we're starting to do the counter programming starting to come out, so back to reviewing a few more movies besides the big event one. So tonight I got to go see an advanced screening of Melissa McCarthy's Life of the Party. This is Melissa McCarthy plays a recent divorcee who was unceremoniously dumped by her husband for a younger model, an upgrade, as they point out in the movie. And she decides to take this opportunity to go back to college and get the degree that she had missed out on because she was raising a family. The hitch is her daughter is also in the same college, so she's excited, gets to enjoy going to school with her daughter less so. So with that set up, here's some highlights from the trailer.
Staying at home and being your mom, but I regret not getting my degree.
That's why somebody's mom just enrolled in college. I'm referring to myself.
I'll see you around the quad.
Nobody says that, Mom.
Well, bring it back.
The flashing lights, gonna lose your
I love your mom.
I already lost my.
You had sex in a library? Frank!
No, don't tell Frank.
Deanna just had sex in a public place.
Where?
In the stacks.
In her slacks?
No, shut up, Frank.
All right, so Life of the Party. This is starring Melissa McCarthy, directed by Ben Falcone. They're a husband and wife team, and they were also the writers for this movie. This is their third collaboration together, following Tammy and the Boss. This also stars Jillian Jacobs as Melissa's daughter, and Maya Rudolph as Melissa's best friend, and also has Julie Bowen from Modern Family as the new wife to Melissa McCarthy's ex-husband. So this was an advanced screening. This was the theater was packed. It was absolutely full. And I'll say this, there is an audience for Melissa McCarthy movies. I am not that audience. Throughout most of the movie, people were laughing. There was a large group of people laughing consistently throughout the movie, belly laughing, laugh out loud. A large group of people just absolutely enjoying the movie. I did not, and I'll get into why I didn't really enjoy it here in a moment, but I'm just pointing out that there is definitely an audience for Melissa McCarthy, and I can understand why there is. She has timing. She's a strong, great comedic actress. I think she's getting to a point where she's ready to move past the comedy. And I'm looking forward to seeing her do more dramatic roles because she definitely has the acting chops for it, and I think she's at a point where she's ready to do that. I don't think she was putting her best effort into Life of the Party. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot that worked well in this movie. It wasn't funny. For me, it wasn't funny. There's about 100 other people in the theater that were laughing throughout the entire thing, and I can't for the life of me figure out what the hell they were laughing at. And I'll get into a couple specifics here in a moment. Other than Melissa McCarthy, Julie Bowen, she has a couple scenes in the movie, and she nails her part for what little bit she has. There's one scene in particular which was so incredibly funny. It was almost worth the price of admission alone, which in my case was free, but if you had to buy a ticket, this one scene was absolutely hysterical. It got to the point where you couldn't actually hear what was going on because so many people were laughing so loud. But that particular scene also highlights why this movie didn't work on so many different levels. And I'm gonna talk around it without getting into spoilers, just because when you do see it, if you end up seeing this movie, this is the one scene that you don't want to have ruined ahead of time. So, but it takes place at a restaurant at a dinner table, and there's kind of two gags that happen in this scene. One of the gags has been set up in previous scenes and is a continuation of character arcs colliding, and it worked, and it was uproarious. And if the entire movie had been that good, I'd be singing his praises right now. There was another gag in this particular scene that just came out of nowhere. One person berating another person, and we never were introduced to the second person to understand why he was so contemptible. But sure enough, he is, and it's indicative of the entire movie. So this really isn't a movie. It is a series of sketches. One scene might have a setup and payoff, but it doesn't carry over to the next scene, and almost nothing carries. Characters don't have a through line from scene to scene. Their motivations just randomly change depending on what the gag of that scene is. It was like watching Saturday Night Live. Except for most of the scenes, they just fell flat. Too many scenes had payoffs with no setup. They just expect you to go along with the punchline. And a whole bunch of other scenes had setups that would build up to something, and then the scene would abruptly end. The movie overall calls back to a lot of other earlier movies, Old School, Back to School, Revenge of the Nerds, some early 80s zany comedies, but it was really just a pale imitation of all those. There was no consistent story. Even what's advertised is this fish out of water, middle-aged housewife, with curls and super sweet and super nice, trying to survive on campus. Well, that gets resolved almost immediately. She does fine. Sorry, a little bit of a spoiler alert, but it happens so early in the movie, it's not really a major spoiler. The awkwardness of being at school with her daughter, that gets resolved right away. So by the end of the movie, you're like, okay, after watching it, if I had to tell you what the central conflict was, what Melissa McCarthy, or her character's name is Diana, what she had to overcome, I don't know. Every scene had a different conflict, and most of the time the conflict was resolved halfway through the scene so that you could just get to whatever the joke was. But there was no there was no overall conflict in the movie for her to overcome. So with that, it just felt disjointed. And in some ways, this is kind of a crazy comparison, but in some ways, it felt like watching Avengers: Infinity War. One of the things people will mention about Avengers is how it just seemed like here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene, but the scenes didn't necessarily tie into each other within the context of that one movie. Of course, with Avengers, they tie into each other over 19 movies. So it was the payoff for people that had seen the entire MCU. However, with Life of the Party, there's no such setup. It's just, here's a scene of Melissa McCarthy eating too many weed bark. Here's a scene of her trashing a room. Here's a scene of her with a weird roommate. Here's a scene of her dancing. Here's a scene of her in the library. But nothing made sense from one scene to another. It was just an opportunity for Melissa McCarthy to show her, and it is her impressive range. But so I mentioned earlier, like how scenes had, or in the screening, like I said, the theater was packed. They actually had to, in an advanced screening, they had to turn people away, which is kind of strange. But this theater was absolutely packed, and there was a large contingent of people that were highly entertained by this. One scene in particular that stood out, these college girls were wearing masks, and then they take off the masks pretty early on, like it wasn't a thing. It's just they were wearing masks for a couple minutes, and one of these girls, her face had a big rash all over it, and everybody reacts to it, and then she says, "Oh, I'm allergic to latex." And there was about 40, 50 people that were laughing like that was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand why people were laughing at that particular scene. It was just, I'm allergic to latex. Oh, and moving on. But people loved it, and more power to them. So if you're that kind of person, if you just love Melissa McCarthy, you'll probably like this movie. But for everybody else, pass. There's no compelling reason to watch this. Not in the theater, not on Netflix, not ever. I'm gonna give it 1.5 out of 5 stars. Completely forgettable. I was twitching in my seat, like dying for it to end so I could leave. But like I said, it has an audience. I don't comprehend why. So that's it. That's the big question of Life of the Party, is why people would like this. But they do. So you're gonna have to decide for yourself if this is the kind of movie for you. If it is, go see it. If not, leave a comment down below. Tell me what why you would. Tell me why you guys like, if you, for anybody that has seen this and you liked it, please tell me why, because I'm honestly at a loss. I thought I was in a alternate universe where what I watched sucked, but everybody else was watching a great movie. So leave your comments below. Tell me what you think of the movie, or just tell me what you think of Melissa McCarthy movies in general. If you got any recommendations for something to go back and watch. I know Bridesmaids has been really popular. The people I went and saw this movie with did not like Bridesmaids, but teach their own. So as always, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and get on the bandwagon.